Hello everybody, welcome to the Centby Show. I'm your host Lorian Gamroff and my co-host is none other than KG Nchingila. KG, welcome to the show.
Welcome, Ms. G.
Thank you very much. One thing that we've been doing on the show up till now is really being quite philosophical about things. And of course talking about Centby's services and the things we're trying to do.
Yeah.
But we don't really tackle current events so much.
Yeah.
You know, we don't on the show talk about the latest news in crypto or in BSV. We always like to talk generally about the industry, I guess, as a whole.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin's space in the industry, where it fits.
Yeah.
And services, of course, that Centby provides. But then also broader applications of Bitcoin SV in solving people's problems,
Yeah.
not just giving us a nice platform for us to build a cash wallet, but how can BSV solve real life problems?
Yeah, I guess there's a lot for us to say in that space, Ms. G. There's just a lot that needs to be sort of like demystified in the BSV space, And for us, it's also one of those duties that we have, bestowed upon ourselves, that we have to put out the truth out there, because what it does, it also clarifies like a lot of misunderstandings that people have, and it also taps people into this space where we're trying to activate people's lifestyles, because there's a lot of people that are out there and they want to be activated somehow, and they don't have easy access to these whether it's the banking systems and stuff like that, So we've been focusing on just trying to, I guess, evangelize the true message of BSV, trying to make people understand that this is more about you being included in the space of tech, being able to buy stuff that you couldn't
and
previously.
Finance.
Exactly, and for us, that's why that's been like our focus, and I believe that we're still gonna be knocking hard on that, because, like I'm saying, Mr. G, a lot of people lack that understanding in this space, so it's our duty for us to clarify that.
That's right. Because we live in a crypto world where if you ask anybody about Bitcoin, they'll say, how do I invest, or where do I buy it? If we were to go and tell somebody about Centby, the first thing they think of, if they've heard of Bitcoin or crypto, is they think it's an investment wallet.
Yes.
So unfortunately, like you say, we've got a job to do. Mm-hmm. We've got to try and explain to people that it was never meant to be about investments. I mean, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
And if you want to invest in crypto, go for it if that's your thing. Mm-hmm. But obviously that's not what we recommend. In fact, we recommend the opposite, get out. But the idea that Bitcoin was originally created to be a financial inclusion tool to bring down the cost of payments and give digital access and, in what you said, activate people's lives.
Yeah.
That message is long gone, and so we are going to have to continue to put that message out. Every single show you watch, we're going to be explaining that. We're going to mention it at least.
Yeah.
That Bitcoin was never meant to be about investments. It's about digital cash and a fantastic digital financial inclusion tool.
Yeah, definitely, Mr. G, because I look at it from an aspect of also trying to activate like the younger generation, because we can't deny the fact that they are the future. And if we somehow try to facilitate that transition or activate their lifestyle into this whole like tech space, everything is tech these days. So
and mobile,
so if the younger generation is not activated, that means there's also like a portion that's being left out like into this transition, and that will become a future problem. So we here, Mr. G, we mobile money on fire. We have a product.
We're not only trying to activate people's lives. We want to activate your minds.
Exactly.
So that's what the Centby Show is about.
Yeah.
If you come and watch the Centby Show, you're going to be learning about the true nature of Bitcoin. What an incredible opportunity it is to be able to now have access to a low-cost payment system in BSV. And Centby is trying to make that fun and easy for you. It's a mobile wallet, and we've bundled hundreds and hundreds of products in there, retailers you can shop at, brands you can buy, and where you can send money to bank accounts or mobile money accounts. We are trying to make Satoshi's vision for Bitcoin a reality.
Yeah.
And we've joked before about how we think of ourselves as Satoshi's wallet.
We are, without a doubt, Mr. G.
Yeah.
And also, I think what's important for us is that we've kept it with the white paper. We kept it by the white paper. We are not crypto. And people, I think, are also getting the gist of that BSV actually is not crypto. BSV is all about spending, being able to send money across the world at,
Micro fees.
Exactly. And for me, I'm actually confident that, we have a very bright future, because if we are taking that responsibility of activating the youth, it means we also have a product that will sort of like grow with them in usage,
We love the youth market. That's a typically financially excluded market.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do, is trying to create a fun mobile wallet that fits into their lives, that has social features and a whole lot of stuff. Yeah, but I just want to touch on a point about the whole crypto market. Now, we've obviously mentioned on the show that CentB doesn't use crypto, it uses Bitcoin SV.
Yeah.
But it still gets lumped into the crypto category. And of course, BSV is traded on exchanges.
Yeah.
So the price of BSV, even though it's not a crypto and it's not an investment asset, it tracks the same price generally as crypto, which is usually led by BTC.
Yeah.
So there's been massive volatility in the last few weeks, last few months in BTC and crypto at large. And so BSV has felt those fluctuations in price. So when people use CentB today, they are going to notice that the price tends to fluctuate sometimes quite radically.
Yeah.
Now, that is just an unfortunate circumstance of this crypto world, where nobody really knows the difference between any of these cryptos. They just see ticker symbols on exchanges and they just go and trade.
Yeah.
So while this market carries on for who knows how long, I don't think for very long, but who knows, it means that even BSV is going to be fairly volatile, which is, again, unfortunate. But remember that BSV is not a savings account. I mean, CentB is not a savings account.
Yeah.
It's meant to be used as cash, which means that if you've got cash in your wallet, you don't want it to burn a hole in your pocket. You want to go and spend it.
Yeah.
So if you are able to top up and spend on BSV, or earn and spend on CentB, then you won't be exposed necessarily to those fluctuations. But for people who are trying to use CentB as a savings account and they're buying bits of BSV every now and again, or at least the way we call it is topping up, then of course you're going to be exposed to the volatility over the short term. So again, we just want to encourage users, if you are using CentB, you got to think about it like a wallet, like your leather wallet in your pocket or your purse.
Yeah.
And you don't keep your life savings in there.
Yeah.
And the money that's in there is not meant to live in there for years.
Yeah. And if you have like $50 in your wallet, it doesn't grow in value. It's still $50, So also people should, like you're saying, they shouldn't pay attention to the volatility of BSV, but more the utility.
100%, exactly. If you got $50 in your wallet, what are you doing with it? You're supposed to go and blow it, right?
Spend it on something.
Buy something useful.
Yeah,
something you can eat.
Yeah.
So that's the mission of ours, is to spread information about the real idea of Bitcoin, how it's meant to be used, how it's meant to be thought of in terms of an asset. It's not an investment, it's cash. And if you start thinking about it in that way, you're going to start realizing how amazing Bitcoin SV is to solve a lot of the problems that we've been talking about. So we're very excited about it. We think it's going to change the world eventually when people cotton on. We even think that one day banks and other traditional mobile money operators are going to use Bitcoin SV. Maybe they won't use Bitcoin, the token, but they certainly could use Bitcoin as the ledger. Something where they can issue their airtime credits or they make their money and they can use the Bitcoin rail. That is going to be the ultimate way Bitcoin, the ledger, gets used, or the blockchain. It's going to be used by enterprises coming up with new business models, ways to log information, ways to issue assets that can be traded. So So this is the future, and when that future is realized, that token price, the BSV token price, of course, won't just be determined by speculation.
Yeah.
It's going to be determined by real demand and real use
Yeah.
in a real market, not just a speculative market.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for that, Mr. G. Yo, guys, remember to check out the CNB app on the stores. And like we've been saying, the worst place you could ever have your BSVs on exchanges. So yeah, remember to check it out on the stores. Show some love, you know the drill by now. Mobile money on fire. Ms. G, we're going to be stepping into this week's second segment. And there's a term we've been throwing around, Ms. G, like financial inclusion. What is financial inclusion?
Yes. Now, this is what Bitcoin was meant to solve largely.
Yeah.
The problem of expensive, inaccessible digital payments.
Yeah.
So when we think about CentB, we think of it as a tool for financial inclusion.
Yeah.
Now, financial inclusion is pretty broad, but it just generally means access to financial services and products.
Yeah.
So if you use a bank account or something, then that is a product or a service, but people don't necessarily have access to those for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah.
And this is now really the goal for countries. I was just recently at a financial inclusion summit in Cape Town.
Oh, yeah.
And the whole summit was focused on this problem. How do we enhance or increase financial inclusion?
Yeah.
Because even though we've got a lot of technology out there, there are still demographics and still people who don't necessarily have access to those services. So this is now the goal for governments and regulators and business people to try and find ways to bring people into the financial services space, to offer them typical financial services that other people have access to, that enhances their lives.
So, Ms. G, just based on what you're saying, is like having a bank account, is that enough as being financially included?
Yeah, I mean, bank accounts are one thing.
Yeah.
And if you think about bank accounts, what does a bank do for you?
Yeah.
It's not just to
Store your cash.
Yeah, it's not just a savings account or
Yeah.
a check account. Banks have a whole lot of other services that they provide.
Yeah.
Access to credit, loans and that sort of thing, or investments. And so a bank account or having access to a bank, yes, that typically does get you to the next level.
Okay.
And so for a lot of people, if they have a bank account, then they could say, well, most of my needs are satisfied.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more to financial inclusion than just having a bank account.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people might not have the education to be able
Yes.
to operate that bank account. At least they won't be able to understand the terms and the conditions of the products.
And in this case, this is not even financial literacy, but literacy.
Well, yes, I mean, literacy
Yeah.
is one thing for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
And then financial literacy, now we have to understand complex things
Terms.
like interest
Yeah.
and all these different concepts that are wrapped up in owning a bank account, having a loan, even payments. So this aspect of financial inclusion, which would be called financial literacy, at the summit, when I was at the summit, I mean, that is really the hottest topic. That's what everybody would be talking about, how financial literacy is a major barrier to financial inclusion.
Yeah.
Because you can give somebody access to a bank account, but will they know how to operate it? And maybe there'll be something that they don't really appreciate, like, oh, you have to pay a fee
The fees, yeah.
or something.
Because I was about to say, I'm like, okay, as much as we are talking about like financial inclusion and all of that, I'm sure there's aspects that also hinder people from being included in the financial like space in that sense, whether it's getting a specific bank account or credit cards or whatever.
Yeah, and understanding what the heck you're getting.
Yeah.
So that's a major issue. And of course, we are trying very hard to increase financial literacy in terms of BSV on the show.
Yeah.
So we're trying to tick that box off.
Yeah.
Now, of course, a thing that people would say back in the early days of Bitcoin, and I'm talking, 5-10 years ago, people would say that Bitcoin gets rid of the banks. You don't need a bank account
Yeah.
anymore if you have Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And of course, we've just spoken about some of the things that banks do apart from just acting as a payment system.
Yes.
Like I said, access to loans and other financial services. So BSV on its own doesn't solve the banking issue. You're still going to need a bank.
Yeah.
And eventually there could be banks that give you loans in BSV or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is now what we are definitely very busy doing. I mean, the show is an example of it, financial literacy.
Yeah.
We want to get people to understand about Bitcoin, what it can be used for, and this show definitely plays a role in that. So in terms of financial inclusion and your question,
Yeah.
having a bank account isn't enough
Yeah.
because you need to know how to use it
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And there are other issues as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're mentioning the issues. So, what are the other things that actually like involve this financial inclusion?
Well, if you think about bank accounts, if you had one, you know you got to pay a fee.
Dev. Yeah.
So it could be that fee is really high. If you think about people who earn a very little amount of money, and of course we live in Africa, and there's people who
Yeah.
just barely make it.
Yeah.
So giving them access to a financial product, if they have to pay, a few dollars to access that, that's a barrier.
Yeah.
So affordability is also a major issue.
It is. Yeah.
Bank account, fine, but can I afford to have this bank account? Or maybe the affordability of making payments. So again, the affordability is really critical,
Yeah.
and something that, of course, BSV shines in.
Yeah. Dev.
Making a payment on BSV,
Super cheap.
it's barely noticeable. It's less than it's less than a tenth of a US cent.
Yeah.
In fact, it's even lower than that. So affordability is massive. It means that people don't have onerous fees that they have to be able to pay.
Yeah.
And so that would also be something that brings financial inclusion to a lot of people who just don't have access.
I mean, just hearing you speak about this, for me, it's clearly straightforward that BSV is the solution, Mr. Chi.
Certainly in payments, yes.
Yeah, but if we're talking tech, I mean, it is probably like most people's concerns, like having to include people that are not included into this financial space, But is it as easy as me just building a product, like just writing an app and then just releasing it?
That's what we try to do. I mean, we've written an app. We've got Sendby out there.
Yeah.
And in doing that, we then find out that there's a lot more barriers.
Yeah.
And so it's not just a tech issue. There are a lot of entrepreneurs out there in the world and a lot of people who know how to code and write apps, but we don't see a lot of solutions.
Yeah.
And there are reasons for that. You can't just go and create a money app.
Yeah.
You're going to have to comply with a whole lot of rules and regulations around that. And Sendby has a lot of that we have to deal with, a lot of compliance.
Yeah.
We have a whole compliance department. We have people who have to now check all the boxes according to what the regulators have required. We have to do all the anti-money laundering stuff and the knowing your customer stuff. In other words, we have to do document verifications.
Definitely, yeah.
At the moment, we are in the process of getting a license,
Yes.
which has been incredibly complicated to try and get. Reams and reams of documentation, reporting, meetings. It's taken so much of our time over the last few months to go through that process. So you can see how the regulatory environment puts up those barriers too.
Yeah.
It's not just a tech issue.
Yeah.
If it was just a tech issue, I mean, you can believe that there would be probably many more solutions out there
Definitely,
that would solve a lot of that financial inclusion stuff. Because you could get entrepreneurs who find a niche and they can figure something out. But now they are going to have to go and figure out the compliance stuff and the regulatory stuff. So in crypto, the world has been quite slow, at least the regulatory bodies in all the different countries have been quite slow to recognize crypto, to understand it, to categorize it, to know what information they need to be able to give a sort of stamp of approval to these companies.
Yeah.
And so the regulatory stuff around, especially crypto, is at this stage still a huge minefield to try and get through, even if you are fortunate enough to have a licensing regime like we have in South Africa.
Yeah.
So this is something that we've obviously taken very seriously. You know, we're going about it in the same way as if we were building a traditional bank or another traditional fintech company. We are not just looking at the tech, and of course we've made a decision about what tech to build Sendbe in and what blockchain to support. But now we also have to make sure that it complies with all the rules and regulations.
Yeah.
And so once we've got the tech, once we've got the affordability, once we've got the literacy, and once we've got the regulatory stuff resolved, well, yes, we now have a beautiful financial inclusion product.
Yeah.
So we are very excited about that, of course. You know, we think that we've got a wonderful solution. And again, going back to the summit, in the presentation that I gave, I intended to explain all about Sendbe and what it does. But instead, I had to go right back to the beginning and explain how they've all been looking at the wrong thing. They are trying to find solutions in financial inclusion. They understand crypto well. They see that it's just this big speculative thing, and they're not. Crypto is making no claims to be a financial inclusion thing. In fact, crypto is financially exclusive.
Yeah, it's exclusive actually. Yeah.
Yes.
Because we've also mentioned it previously in terms of how it's mostly people who have will focus on BTC stuff for speculation because I have enough money to gamble.
Yes.
You know? So for a layman, that's not something to look at because I don't have that type of money to be playing around.
Although unfortunately, you get desperate people who just put their house money in there, but crypto, I mean, you have to be able to log on to exchange, register on an exchange, and you've got to understand how all that works. You've got to know how to keep your crypto. And so, of course, that cuts out a lot of normal people who just want to be able to have access to just financial services. So crypto is definitely not financial inclusion, but Bitcoin SV certainly is a tool for financial inclusion. And we've gone about it the right way. We are tackling the literacy issue, we're tackling all that. And so we think that we are a considerable player in this space. And thanks to Satoshi's Bitcoin, we will be able to bring financial services, not just to the African continent, but emerging economies all around the world. Thanks to the global nature of BSV, you know, we're not limited by the country or the local currency. And so it's a very exciting time to now bring something like Sendbe to a summit like the Financial Inclusion Summit and say, look what we have. BSV is the answer you've been looking for in terms of affordability and of course compliance. Because remember, the BSV blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain, is a transparent blockchain. It can be audited. Payments can be traced. Identities can be linked to those transactions. It's pseudonymous. It's not anonymous. Pseudonymous means you can look at it and you can see what's going on. But you don't necessarily know who it's connected to, so that's private, and privacy is good. But it's not anonymous because we can see it, and then because of an accountable institution like Sendbe offering services, we can link identity. So Bitcoin was made to be a financial inclusion tool. And I'm pretty sure Satoshi would be proud of what we've done.
Straight up, Mr. G. I mean, it's stated in the white paper and we kept it by that, you know. So guys, remember to check out the Sendbe app on the stores, man. If you don't have it, you are definitely missing out, yo. So yeah, check it out on the stores there. Also remember to subscribe, show some love, share the channel with your friends, man. You know the drill by now. Mobile money on fire. Sharp. Ms. G, we're going to be stepping into this week's user questions and feedback from socials. Our first one comes from Albert. So he's saying, hello, I think your app is great, but I've never been able to recover my funds in any other wallet. Without that, it doesn't give me confidence. Which is the derivation path?
Okay.
Is there any password?
All right. So he's trying to take his 12 words and his PIN and import it into another wallet like Electrum SV or Handcash or something, and that's not supported. He mentioned the word derivation path. So let me give a bit of a technical explanation on how Sendbe wallet keys are generated. Sendbe takes your 12-word backup phrase and your 4-digit PIN, and then it uses that information in an algorithm, which is an open source algorithm, it's a standard algorithm, to then generate your private keys in your wallet. And that's why if you lose those 12 words and PIN, then, I mean, we don't have that, so you're going to lose your money. So that's why it's so important. But with those 12 words and PIN, you can now go and generate all your private keys. Now, other wallets have the same sort of functionality where you can put 12 words in, and sometimes a PIN or password, he said. And so then the idea would be, okay, well, then you can just put your 12 words in another wallet and then you can get your wallet back.
Yeah.
But every wallet has what's called a derivation path, and that's just a technical term saying a kind of pattern, talking about a pattern.
Okay.
And the pattern decides how to use those 12 words and PIN to generate your keys. And what's different in most wallets is that the derivation path is different. And that means if you were to take your CentB words and PIN into another wallet, it wouldn't generate the private keys. You could still do that, but it would generate a different set of private keys, and those wouldn't have your coins on.
Which is a new wallet, essentially.
It's essentially a new wallet.
Okay.
So I'm not recommending anybody do this at all, but that's the problem. Now, if you want to know more about the derivation path and you are somebody who's technical and you want to understand that, remember CentB is non-custodial, and we give you the power to be able to take your 12 words and your PIN and be able to generate your keys outside of CentB if you know the derivation path. If you do want to know the derivation path, then just go into the help inside CentB wallet and you can chat there and you can say, I want to know my derivation path, and then you will get the answer on how derivation paths are structured in CentB. So, short answer to the question, you can't do that. You can't import your wallet into other wallets, but you can still use the phrase, the PIN, and the derivation path to use another open source algorithm to be able to generate your keys.
Cool. Thanks for that, Albert. I'm sure that's clear on your side. Our second one comes from Abandoned Steve. Steve says, I want to say that CentB saved me from running out of fuel. I had zero funds, but used it in the shop app to purchase a fuel voucher.
There we go, purchasing fuel.
That's so cool.
I mean, you can, what can't you do on CentB, right?
That's the question, So thanks for that, Abandoned Steve. Guys, remember to check out the CentB app on the stores. I mean, you heard it from Steve, man. Like, you guys can literally, be living off BSV, buying your daily essentials with CentB. So check it out on the stores, guys. And remember to subscribe, show some love. Our third one comes from DB. DB saying BSV is and always will be Bitcoin.
Absolutely. When we talk about Bitcoin, we talk about Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin, the Bitcoin that was defined in the white paper by Satoshi. And BSV is the only Bitcoin that follows the design or the protocol in that document. And so that's why we believe it's Bitcoin, the way it was designed.
Straight up.
These other versions of Bitcoin have made changes to the protocol. BTC has taken out signatures with SegWit. They've got replaced by fee. They've got all sorts of things happened that have made differences to what Satoshi created. So that's what we're going to say. We stick to Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin.
Straight up, guys. You heard it from Mr. Geo. We only support BSV. That's the only Bitcoin we recognize as CentB. So just download the CentB app, explore the power of BSV through CentB. Mobile money on fire. Mr. G, our last highlight comes from Golden Steel. They are saying, excellent. Greetings from Colombia.
And we want to say hello to you from CentB. And thanks for being a great user. And tell your Colombian friends to jump on the CentB train.
Straight up. Yo, thanks for that.
We're on our way to 1,000 subs. We've promised that we'll create a blooper video with our behind the scenes. So if you please tell your friends to subscribe. Let's get to 1,000. That'll be awesome. 1,000 people getting true Bitcoin knowledge from us here at CentB. But and also again, just to talk about our subject, the financial inclusion aspect. Crypto is not inclusive.
It's not.
Everybody is saying that we all need to get into crypto, and this is the way that we all going to make money. It's life-saving. I mean, that's all just a scam. So what we are trying to do is show how BSV, Bitcoin SV, is a tool for financial inclusion, and that crypto is a tool for financial exclusion. It's not everybody who can go and invest in crypto and, as you said, risk money or out of desperation. Sendbee is not trying to encourage people to do that, to go and invest. We want to give people a tool that they can easily have access to, and they can easily then make payments for the things that they need. This is our mission. It's to bring financial inclusion, which is totally opposite to the crypto mission, which is to bring financial exclusion. The haves versus the have-nots. Sendbee is there for the have-nots. So that is our mission. But anyway, I think that's a wrap then, Cage. Thank you very much. And so I just want to say thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into the Sendbee Show. Tell your friends, and please come back soon.